Welcome to the Beau Show, the home of faith, family, and freedom. Cheers to a brand new year. It is 2023, and that means new people, new friends, new stories, new everything. There will never be another 2023. In the entertainment world, the Paramount Plus TV show Yellowstone has gained traction ever since its first season. It was the most watched show, other than the NFL, for people under age 50. The modern Western is helmed by veteran actor Kevin Costner and features Kelly Riley as the scorned and vicious Beth Dutton, Cole Hauser as Rip, the ranch's top hand turned family, Luke Grimes as the prodigal son Casey, Wes Bentley as the estranged son Jamie Dutton, and Gil Birmingham as Thomas Rainwater, the chief of a Montana Native American tribe fighting to preserve their land and their culture. The show really focuses on three factions. One, the Dutton family. Two, the Native American tribe. And three, rich developers who see the Montana landscape as the new Jackson Hole or Park City. Now, the show began with the conflict between the Duttons and the Native American tribe because of land disputes with a planned casino. But with Casey Dutton marrying one of those natives and having a child with her, the war between the two took a back seat to a common enemy, the developers, who are putting both of their futures at risk. So at its core, this is a modern Western that tackles a subject that is very real world, the shrinking size of private land, as well as the preservation of natural beauty and traditional culture. So in the big picture, on the one hand, you have liberals who might see the plight of naturalists as a way of preserving America's natural beauty, and perhaps a pro-environment kind of viewpoint. But on the other hand, you might have conservatives that may see this as a way of preserving a traditional way of life and culture that has been warped by liberal elites who want to sip their lattes and produce more beta males and feminists. If you look at the characters and how this Montana frontier way of life is portrayed, it is a modern Western society. Family is quite important to the Duttons, and they have a hard knocks set of rules. You break it, you better fix it fast. And it became clear that when Jamie Dutton was found to be the offspring of another man, it changed the entire family dynamic. Rather than being the somewhat ostracized adopted kid of the family, Beth wages an all-out war on Jamie. But this is not the old John Wayne type of Western that might attract your typical conservative viewer. This is a modern drama, albeit fiction. Conservatives might like Costner as an actor, and he does some exceptional acting in this show. But I can't see it appealing to only one political persuasion. But that's the backdrop for some critics calling Yellowstone anti-woke, or a red state show. In an interview with The Atlantic, show creator Taylor Sheridan said, quote, "They refer to it as a conservative show, or the Republican show, or the red state Game of Thrones." And I just sit back laughing. I'm like, really? The show's talking about the displacement of Native Americans and the way Native American women were treated, and about corporate greed and the gentrification of the West and land grabbing. That's a red state show? Unquote. He makes a good point. After all, his previous movie, Wind River, focused on missing and murdered Indigenous women. Hardly a GOP talking point. There must be this notion because conservatives love the show, it must somehow be a conservative show. And I don't think that's entirely true. There is a fair amount of politics that do run through the Yellowstone plot, including the new season 5, in which John Dutton becomes governor. And he's likely a Republican, although the show doesn't really make that quite clear. We know that Montana is indeed a red state, but usually Hollywood makes fun of red states, or entirely mischaracterizes them. But to know Yellowstone is to know its creator, Taylor Sheridan, and we have to take him at his word. He had left his job as an actor in LA and moved to Park City, Utah. Sheridan told them how expensive it was going to be, and how they would have zero creative control over the show. No notes, no writer's rooms, no outlines. Usually a studio would balk, but they didn't. And Sheridan said, quote, this was one of the fundamental things I wanted to look at. When you have a kingdom and you are the king, is there such a thing as morality? Because anyone trying to take your kingdom and remove you as king is going to replace your morality for theirs. So does morality factor into the defense of the kingdom? And what does that make the king? And at the end of the day, that's really what the show is about. Sheridan refers to how John Dutton fights like hell to preserve the Yellowstone and its way of life. Many times in the show, you can see a squinting Dutton taking in what he probably feels like is his last glance at freedom and a natural landscape. Then again, Dutton represents a true patriarchal family, the so-called king, as Sheridan noted. The left has wanted to topple what they think is the oppressive patriarchy by attacking every straight white male and masculinity itself. In this sense, John Dutton is the epitome of what the left hates. So a liberal is going to fundamentally dislike the show's protagonist. This show has parallels to its contemporary drama Succession, which has achieved far more critical acclaim and awards. But Yellowstone has never won a single Emmy. Some have suspected that the show's red state quality or appeal is what is preventing it from that recognition. And it wouldn't be surprising to me if Hollywood shut it out by mere association or fear, the way it shut out Mel Gibson's earth-shattering Passion of the Christ. But perhaps Hollywood is also leery of the morality question that Yellowstone poses. Sheridan credits inspiration from Clint Eastwood's 1992 Western Unforgiven, which has a bully sheriff and a hero that's a vicious drunk. In shattering the prototypical Western, Unforgiven paved way for Yellowstone, in which the characters have moral quandaries. Sheridan said, quote, "So when I stepped into that world, I wanted there to be real consequences. I wanted to never ever shy away from this was the price," unquote. We see that John Dutton's Law and Order has a penance of going to the train station, which is vernacular for being driven out to a massive ravine, pushed off, and never to be seen or heard from again. It's almost mafia-like. But the Dutton way is one that many traditional Americans understand and respect. Honor, loyalty, courage, duty, and a vicious defense of family and way of life. Those are not capital L liberal values. And perhaps it is that antiquated yet noble way of life that frightens elitist Hollywood types from getting behind it. Well, other than Paramount Plus, which is enjoying its great run with Yellowstone. But remember that it took Sheridan telling them that he would require total artistic control for him to go through with it. Studio execs, as we have seen with Disney, have their handprints all over their content. But this is a tragic flaw. In the Hollywood bubble, execs became out of touch with America. And they decided to try to shape culture rather than reflect it. Notice that the only film to come out about Hunter Biden came from an independent Irish creative team, not in the buildings of Studio City. Hollywood's coziness with the left is exactly what got them in trouble. And I mean that quite literally when it came to Harvey Weinstein. The Yellowstone concept was rejected by most studios anyway. That shows you right there that they had no interest in this idea. It took a big believer. And it also took the understanding that Sheridan would have this unbridled creative control, which I have to think is somewhat autobiographical in a way, since he is a true cowboy, and he appears as a recurring character in the Yellowstone series. Sheridan writes every word of Yellowstone, and it is this meticulous attention to detail that gives Beth, John, and Rip their iconic vernacular. It also has the quality of unvarnished truth, which seems to be foregone in a world of artifice, TikTok, and colloquialisms. In many ways, the unabashed truth that the characters speak remind us of a time when people honored their word. And for some odd reason, that is at odds with trendy liberalism.